Welcome to Toilets to Titles, Down Under Dynasty. Back for episode 3. Here I am, back again. Ben Duvin, at Life from the Ben. Here with me, as always, my co-host at Effort Format, Matt Hatton. How are you today, Matt?
Mate, I'm doing wonderfully well, Ben. Had a pretty cruisy Sunday. Went for a bit of walk in the park and played with the dog a little bit. Nothing too exciting, mate. How are you going?
Yeah, really good, mate. I went up to Ballarat for the weekend with my partner, and we ate at a few restaurants and just chilled out and relaxed and came home. Going to podcast with yourself, and we're really lucky today to have a fantastic guest on. So pretty excited to have him on. I think we should get right to it and bring him right in. What do you say?
Jump on it, mate. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hey guys.
Here he is, of Aussie guy fame, the superstar himself, AJ.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm excited to see who this exciting guest is that's coming on. No, it's great to be on. Thanks for the invite, guys. At any time.
How's your weekend been, mate?
Yeah, good. I'm conscious that I did muck you guys around because I forgot,
okay.
I forgot it was Mother's Day. Mother's Day here in Australia. If you're an Aussie watching this, you know. So it was a busy day. A bit of running around, but we love our mums, don't we? So
just honoured to have yourself on, mate. The handsome half of the Aussie Guys podcast.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I did invite G. I did invite G on, but he blanked me. So must have been some of those dodgy mixing trades I was trying to send him. I think he's
maybe. Nixon's had a bit of a resurgence for some reason this off season. It's interesting.
Yeah, he's still young, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
24.
He's got that 4-year contract that's kicking in.
Yeah.
And those reports have been online in the last week or so that he's getting all the work. He's never coming off the field.
Yep.
So
there's no one else there.
Yeah.
So maybe.
He was leading the NFL in touches when he got hurt in week 6, I believe.
Was he really?
140 touches through 6 weeks.
Wow. I must admit to have gotten off the Mixon train. I was on it for years, but I'm not a believer anymore. But yeah, he could prove me wrong. Let's see.
If you can get a ticket while it's discounted, mate, do it.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can get a discount ticket, yeah.
Maybe.
Before we really dive into the NFL talk, in honor of having AJ on here, I'll do a little drinks of the pod session.
Hey, nice.
All right. Now, this is Fury and Son Mango Imperial Sour Ale. This is a little microbrewery right here near with the suburbs where I live in Keilor.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's about 20 minutes up the road, and they do some beers and they do a little some food as well on a Friday afternoon. And they release some top drops, and I'm really into the sours at the moment. So I'm loving these mango sours.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm completely boring. I've just got some Diet Coke in a cup. Actually, this cup was a cup that I got. It's pretty weathered. You can sort of see. But I did get this from the Murph when the Chargers were in San Diego. This cup probably 20 years old.
20 years old.
Well, yeah. But it's been through the dishwasher so many times, and I could have put it on a shelf, I guess, and never touched it. But it just it gives me fond memories to drink from it. But it's almost it's almost cactus at this point. It's all the stuff's come off it. But anyway,
the cup, my friend, actually leads nicely into our next segment of how did you get into the NFL, AJ?
Well, that's. So I was thinking, because you put it on the show sheet, I was reflecting on that. So, being 2021, we're talking about 30 years ago. It's sort of I don't like saying it because you sort of confront your own age, really. But 30 years it would have been about 91 that I'm a teacher, and I went on a teacher exchange with a group of students to the States, and we went to San Diego, go figure.
Yep.
And we were there for, a couple of months, and during that time we were building it out with families, and I was staying with a family who were big Charger fans. And 91, so, the Chargers were pretty good. It might be hard to believe. The Chargers were pretty good that year, and in the couple of years that followed, the Super Bowl appearance wasn't too far off 91.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get to go to any games while I was there, but they watched the Chargers every Sunday. And, I basically learnt the game, or, I tried to sort of get my head around the game from them, which was a great experience because, as an Aussie, you're trying to get your head around a game that's pretty different from, any sort of code that we have. But when you've got some Americans, you can sort of bounce things off, and they can sort of, you can say, what does that mean? And they can sort of give you some nuance. It helps a lot. So there wasn't any fantasy around in those days, or certainly if there was, it wasn't sort of very accessible to Aussies. I only started playing fantasy, many years after that. But I was following them. It was really hard. Like coming back here, it was very, very hard to actually follow them. But I did find that in sort of the early-ish days of internet broadcasting, there's a couple of radio stations that started streaming their feeds. So there's a couple of San Diego radio stations. And I used to, this sounds incredibly, you could get up. Obviously we're familiar with the time difference. So the early game would be 3 a.m. And so what I would do is I'd get up and I'd listen to the game live because I couldn't record it. A game's too long. You couldn't put a cassette in and record it. But then I sort of came up with a little bit of a method of recording it on a video cassette because, video cassette, you could have a 4-hour videotape. So I would I'd put the audio feed into my VCR and record it. But I'd get up at 3 a.m., set it all up, press record on the video, and then go back to sleep. And then either in the morning or when I got home from work, I would listen back to the audio feed on the video. That sounds incredibly bad, doesn't it? But that was just kind of how you had to access it those days.
Yeah. By the time I got into it, there was a bit more around. That was early 2000s. So I never quite had to go the cassette method.
We're spoiled, aren't we? Now it's saturated. Well, you got Twitter, you got Instagram.
Yeah.
And with NFL Game Pass and all the technology, you're still waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Oh, hell no. But I used to do that. I used to go to bed, I would try to go to bed earlier, but then I would be so excited that I would just be, always excited game day, and I'd hardly sleep. And then I'd get up at 3 a.m. and I'd be sitting there in the dark because I wouldn't want to wake anyone else up, listening to the game. And then I'd just go to work bleary-eyed. And you'd find by about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, you were just zonked, you were just, you were out of it. But I did that for a while. And then the second that Foxtel came in, man, I raced to the door to get Foxtel. And then you would get, you'd be lucky for a Charger fan. If you're a Patriots fan or a Packers fan or Steelers fan or something, you probably saw a lot of games. If you're a Charger game, you're lucky if you got, lucky if you got one a season. But still, it was NFL. And I neglected to mention all the Don Lane things. So I used to watch that, every.
That's how I got into it. Don Lane was the channel 8, or ABC, I think it was, right? One a week. That's all we used to get.
Yeah, so I'd hang out for the 10-second version of the Charger game,
For a little bit when I first met you, I wasn't sure whether you were a Charger fan or a Raider fan.
Yeah.
I got a little confused.
So did I.
Just for 2 years, right?
Yeah, I still have I think there's a lot of Charger fans that feel this way. There's a lot of Charger fans that I know that don't follow the NFL at all now. Or maybe they follow the NFL, but they don't follow the team or any team. So that was an option. That was certainly an option. And I do know Charger fans that flipped to the Raiders or just flipped to other teams.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, it was too hard. I couldn't sustain it. But I was just, really, I'm not sure what sort of language you allow me to use, but I wasn't happy, let's say.
Yeah.
And I'm still very unhappy with the owner. And I think the sooner that they sell the team, the better. I think in the Hollywood version, they go back to San Diego to a ticker tape parade and they get a brand new stadium there, but that's never, ever probably going to happen.
They are really the second tier team there, right, behind the Rams, because the Rams owner owns the stadium and all that jazz. So you got to feel sad for those San Diego fans, like missing out on Justin Herbert now.
Yeah.
But at least you're back on the Chargers, and you're going to get to enjoy Justin Herbert for hopefully the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, it was a very happy coincidence, let's say, because I wasn't a Herbert fan. I didn't particularly like his tape, and I was really pulling for Tua.
I saw you on the live stream, mate. Your face said it all. Was pretty. Horrid.
Well, I thought he might get to us, and there was some talk that the Finns were in love with Herbert. Man, if that had happened, imagine how I'd feel now. But anyway, I still believe in Tua, mind you. But I mean, the year that Herbert had, picking quarterback, GM. I mean, we talk about fantasy, the difficulty picking quarterbacks in fantasy. I mean, it's like a 50-50 prospect. It's hard for GMs to do it. And even though they liked Herbert, I mean, man, it could have gone. Who knows? So it's luck, and it's really nice luck.
It is a lot of luck. I mean, a lot of people said that the player they saw on tape for the San Diego, LA Chargers.
You did it.
Is not the same player that they watched on tape that final season at Oregon. They just didn't let him loose.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's so many unknowns because the systems they use in college, you'll be more across this than me, Ben, but like this, obviously the college systems can be quite different. So you're sort of projecting quite a bit, and some guys just don't rise to the challenge, They just don't really make the transition. So it's hard.
It's
very hard.
Absolutely. So, yeah, very, very happy. Obviously very, very happy. And, yeah, it does feel very good to have a Charger jersey on my back again. But I do have sort of a soft spot for the Raiders. In ways they felt a little bit like the forgotten team at the same time as we did as well, sort of getting, short shrift in Oakland. But they've found a good home, I think, in Vegas. If Gruden and Mayock could actually draft properly, happy days. But man, they can't seem to do anything right.
Yeah, I got to apologise to Rich, fellow Times member, but mate, Rich, the Raiders, they love a reach, mate. They love a reach. Just reaching up the draft board for those
massive reach,
big school prospects.
Well, I tell you, because I considered a few different options when I was deciding to leave my Chargers, after like 25 years of support. And one of my main reasons was I'm a massive fan of defense, and I still to this day am a massive fan of Khalil Mack. And I wasn't a fan of the Raiders for maybe not, 2-3 months. And then the Raiders, that whole thing happened. And then he went to Chicago. So it's like, are you kidding me? Basically one of my favorite players in the league, and he's gone. And the Bears just don't really use him right. I mean, he's sort of he's vanished into obscurity. It's really unkind and unfair to him, really.
So it's your fault, the trade for Steve Mack the Bears. You're to blame, mate. You started following the Raiders, and that's it.
Absolutely. Oh, man. And, I mean, that draft, I think in the first round, I think it was Colton Miller. I mean, it was a terrible look, pick any Raiders draft in the last 4 years. It's a terrible draft. But
they haven't done much with those picks, have they?
No.
They got all those picks for Mac, and they have not done much with them at all.
Whereas look at the Finns. Oh, the Finns have got so many picks. But they're using them, man. They're using them so well. That Finns team could dominate the league for years. They use them correctly.
Tour breakout. I'm calling it now, mate. Tour breakout.
He's got the weapons.
Got the weapons now. Got the weapons now. So one thing that's happened pretty recently is you took over an orphan in a league that I manage, a football league. I'm sorry, a fantasy football league I manage. I don't manage the NFL. And it's a league with a bit of a twist. It's got 36 teams, 3 copies of every player. You've come in, you've taken over an orphan, and you've just turned the league upside on its head with trades. Upside on its head. Go to transactions, it's just all AJ.
It's got to a point where I see a trade come through and I look at it and I'm surprised it's not AJ. That's how much this guy's trading. It's like, oh, someone else is trading. Wow, like.
I just see at commish trade to process. I'm like, Billy will do it. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I must confess that I looked at the team for, I didn't do anything for maybe 2 months, and I was sort of looking at that team thinking, I don't know, it wasn't a good team on paper, and I wasn't really sure what direction I wanted to go with it. But I don't mind taking over an orphan sometimes, but you've got to have pieces. Like sometimes you get an orphan. Sometimes you get offered an orphan, and it's an orphan for a reason, because it's terrible. And you look at it and you think, I don't know if there's anything I can do with this team. But this wasn't a bad team. There was some meat on the bones, but there was also some, there's a lot of pieces that I didn't like. But I took a while to work out what I wanted to do with it. Like, did I want to compete, or did I want to just tear it all down and reset it? Which I guess I've sort of done, but I've done it with a view of competing. So that's the mindset. I mean, my quarterbacks are Matty Ice. Well, Matty Ice was in there. He's an original member, and I do have Tom Brady. So, and I got him cheap. I think it was a second rounder.
Yeah.
And a second rounder for a good starting quarterback. I mean, Tom Brady was a QB1.
QB1, yeah.
And I mean, people are so ageist. And honestly, I've got years to kind of. Well, no, I don't have years, but like Tom Brady could play 2 years, and so I don't have to worry about that really. I think some people just like panic, just like, oh no, I've got Tom Brady and Matt Ryan. I've got to get young right now. I've got to just fix it.
Yeah.
There's no real point.
No, I mean, the chances of hitting a second round pick hitting, especially one that you paid for Tom Brady, it's pretty remote.
Oh, it was a late second too, from memory.
Even if he does retire next year, you could buy a Stafford or a car or a Big Ben if he's there. Like you don't have to mortgage the farm to get an older quarterback, right? You could do that for a few more years if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, exactly. Actually, having said that, I do have a bit of a plan, but I'm kind of giving away what I'm thinking because
tell me more.
I've slowly traded up to the 106. So, I'm kind of trying to look after the future because, there's a good quarterback rookie class, actually.
I think this quarterback class is like the.
Hopefully, I hope one of those quarterbacks gets to you, mate.
Yeah, I know. That's my only fear. At 106, I reckon, because, look, Najee will get in there, Pitts will get in there, Chase will get in there. Yeah. So I don't. And the 3 copy thing is I really like. I must confess that helps trading a lot because what you can do is like, let's say, for example, I traded for A-Rob. I can't remember what I traded to get A-Rob, but there's 3 people you can hit up basically. So you can go to them with the same offer, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the chances are one will hit. I mean, I think that's why I've been able to trade so much is because of the 3 copies. Like sometimes you just hit brick walls. I've hit brick walls for sure. Like I don't know, you'd be able to see how many rejects, I don't know, in the system.
Mate, that's cheating, mate. I don't go looking at that.
No.
Come on. I'm not a criminal.
No. But I've had certainly probably 3 times the number of rejects than accepts. Like, no doubt. I mean, there's been
And-
times when I go to my trade thing and I've got like 12 active open trades sitting in there.
Well, I think that's something that other people in this league don't utilise enough. Is sending out trades to all 3 owner copies, because you've got 3 owners. They're all going to value the player differently.
Yeah.
Right. And one might not be as high as someone else. One might be low on that player.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, exactly. Exactly. So I really like that. And I took a while to warm up to it. Like when I jumped in, it took a while for me to get my head around that. But now that I have, I do actually really like it. And the same with like getting into the 106 or like trading into any slot. I mean, you could trade for so it's the 16, 17, and 18. So there's 3 106s. It's just, are you at the beginning of the 106 or the end of the 106, basically?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is also really cool.
Yeah, it adds it's an interesting little tweak. And
Yeah.
I did the tiers of the tiers of the 106 of the picks. So which 106 you get is based off your potential points.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's not just random.
Yeah.
No, I've looked at all 3 teams with all 3 106s. Which one had the last potential points? Okay, he gets the first 106.
That makes
So
sense.
gets the second 106. And
Yeah.
like that. So, I mean, if somebody drops, then, I mean, the guy with the first 106 is going to benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
very good.
I think we're in we're in an IDP league together, AJ, which is multi-division, but you can't trade it across leagues.
No.
You're in the villain side. I'm in the heroes, and I've been sitting there a little bit with a little bit of envy that I'm not in the villain side, because you guys seem to have a lot of action, and maybe I'm just sending bad trades. But yeah, you can see the benefit. You know, console wars there's always action.
Oh yeah, and there's no technical reason. This is a good thing about MFL, but there's no technical reason why you can't trade across divisions. You know, like you've got in console wars, anyone can trade with anyone. You just can't have a duplicate, and that's fine.
Yeah. Well, we opened it up this year to that you could trade draft picks across divisions, and previously it wasn't like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that only changed this off season, and that's why it's the multi-copy draft. Because otherwise, to do it, because you couldn't do it the other way, and have separate drafts. I tested it, and the picks would just disappear from the team that traded for them. Right.
Okay.
So it had to be the multi-copy. You couldn't say have 3 separate drafts, and like Nintendo, somebody with a pick in Nintendo who traded for PlayStation's pick couldn't pick in PlayStation's draft. The pick just disappear.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing is I wish that I think Matt, I know you mapped out my trades, and maybe you've got an original thing, but I wish I'd taken a capture of the original team. I could probably go back to the 2020 league and have a look at it. But I don't really think I've got any original pieces. Maybe Matt Ryan might be the only one, but yeah.
And you've got to feel good about Matt Ryan given the Falcons pass on a quarterback.
Oh,
and
yeah, hell yeah.
Like Pitts.
Again, it's an ages thing, I reckon. I mean, he's 35, so, honestly, I mean, Brady is, what is he, 43, 42, 43?
I mean, that extension they gave him looks like, he's going to get 3 years.
Yeah, precisely. And now his weapons, I mean, the Falcons are just like, defense. Who cares? Let's just go and score a ton of points. I mean, it's sort of the same for Julio Jones. In a rookie draft today, admittedly, I think this was a very good deal for me, but in a rookie draft, I put the 301. So this is a super flex 12 team. I put the 301 available on the block, and someone offered me Julio Jones for the 301. Wow. So that was a smash accept.
In a rookie draft?
Yes.
Stealing.
This rookie draft falls off a cliff at like 2.04.
Oh, I should say IDP as well, so a bit deeper.
Oh, okay. It's, all right, a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Still, that's still ridiculous. I mean,
what's that, like a 2.4 in a standard draft, right?
I guess It'd be maybe,
So Michael Carter for Julio Jones, something like that. You're saying?
Yeah. Again, it's an ages thing. I mean, he's 32. Maybe got 2 years left. Maybe 2 good years, but still.
there's an outside chance that he's goes AJ Green and falls off a cliff, right? Outside chance. But, I mean, he was still super productive when he played last year. And I think that's the main difference between him and AJ Green when he had his glimpses of health, is that he just wasn't productive. And Julio was still super productive. He was probably still really the one when he was healthy, even with Calvin balling out.
I agree. And it probably, again, Pitts being there as well, maybe that's depressed his value slightly. I don't know.
We're just ageist, mate. I've been trying to sell Hopkins in that league, and I can't get a nibble, even package Hopkins and Roethlisberger for a pick because I'm trying to rebuild. But no nibbles at all. We're just ageist. All us.
That's crazy. That's crazy,
owners, aren't we?
Yeah.
And you can't trade for a rookie pick now at all. It's.
Oh no.
Unless you could probably move up if you've got other picks, because people think, everybody thinks they're great at drafting, and if they can move back and pick up a little something, they're still going to get a stud with that pick. But trying to get a rookie pick without picks is
impossible.
It's next to impossible, mate.
Give you a firstborn.
Well,
you might get it.
I think there's some truisms, and I know it's not rocket science. I know you guys know this, but it's like this is the very absolute worst time to trade for rookie picks now. Like this is when they're worth the most. Actually, when they're worth the most is probably when you're on the clock, literally. Probably the cheapest is the 22 rookie picks now. They're at their cheapest. They're only going to get more expensive. So, it's kind of it doesn't make sense you kind of missed your run. If you're trying to get rookie picks now, you kind of missed your run. You should have been doing it like 12 months ago, or maybe in season. In season, you can do it because people are in the hunt and they're desperate, and you can you can have this player, but throw me a second, and you can build up a bit of a bank of picks.
I can't get like a mid-first for Chris Godwin.
That's madness. That's madness.
I sold Chris Carson in this league in season for a first.
Wow. Okay.
To Mark Bull, who hates running backs. So it's what you say is right. In season you can get him, but now you can't.
On a per game basis, Chris Godwin's right there with AJ Brown, who's like Dynasty wide receiver 1 at the moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't get a Godwin offer. I got a first. Just saying.
This isn't console wars. This is a different league.
Okay, damn.
And in another league that I'm in, I had the 102. I had the 102, and I sold it. So again, if you got rookie picks, so I guess at the beginning of all of this. Because I just had the standard picks, so I think I was drafting from the 103 in Console Wars. So I had like the 103, 203, 303, 403. And I turned the 103 into 3. There was a guy who offered me 3 firsts. It was 2 11s. This is where your audience is going to go, what, 2 11s? Because of the copies. There was two 11s and a 12. But that was too good to pass up, Because then I turned those into, heaven knows how many picks. I was going backwards and forwards.
You turned that into an assortment of things.
Yeah,
it's like
I did.
Belichick with the Garoppolo trade. He just kept trading it over and over and over. So no one actually knows what we gave Garoppolo up for. No one can come back and say it was a bad trade because he flipped it and shuffled it around and swung it around and gave it up and down and drafted like 11 players with it. So
and now you're all the way back up at 106.
Yeah, and I did that. I used my other picks, but I did it in increments. I thought I was quite pleased with myself, not to sort of pat myself on the back, but like I think I did it from maybe the 112, and I think I moved maybe to 110 and 18 and then 16, just like by adding picks in.
And that's the way you've almost got to do it. You can't get up if you got to kind of get a pick, and you can move up maybe 1 or 2 picks at a time just by adding a little bits, like exactly what you did.
Because it's easy to sell. You can sell to someone, hey, I just want to move up 2 spots, and I'll give you a second round pick, like a late second, and I'll go up, 2 spots in the first. But if you're trying to go up 6 spots, it's a little different, It's a little different, especially with the tier, like you guys know, especially if you're not doing IDP. There's that. I reckon there's a tier. Where do you reckon it is? Like maybe 7, 8, 9.
In super flex leagues?
Oh, super flex. Yeah, okay.
Or normal, or in a startup. Are you talking
Actually,
about?
super flex. It's not startup, just rookie. But in super
Rookie.
flex, maybe it's 10. I mean, you got the 5 QBs.
I mean, I in a rookie draft that it's just about to wrap up. I got Jalen Waddle at 1.12.
That's
But
good.
I wouldn't consider him tier 1 though. I'd say the rookie, the first round is 2 tiers, which is probably I would say Lawrence, Lance, and Fields are a tier by themselves. Then probably Wilson, Zach Wilson, Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, and Pitts.
Yeah.
Maybe some people would have Pitts and Chase in that quarterback tier with the first 3 guys. Would you guys have that? Or would they be in the tier 2 for you?
Why don't you pop the mock up from last night? We did a mock last night. You can sort of be able to see it and scream.
It does depend a little bit on the scoring, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, just to get more standard, super flex, tight end premium, 1.5 PPR for tight ends.
For me, it's the four QBs: Chase, Pitts, Najee. And then there's a bit of a drop off to ETN, and then.
So to me, those 3 guys right there are definitely a tier by themselves. In my opinion, Lawrence, Fields, and Lance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, and then this is exactly how I have it. Then this Harris, Pitts, Wilson, Chase, tier 2, right? And then the rest of the guys, to me, it's probably that Smith, Javonte Etten, and Mac Jones is probably a 3rd tier.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Sermon, but Elijah Moore and Waddle would be in that tier 3 for me.
Mm-hmm.
And Bateman as well. So, the tier 3 would probably go from here. From Devontae Smith at 1.8 all the way to Bateman at 2.4. And then to me, it falls off a cliff.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I do agree.
It's all ugly after Carter. For me, I was picking for 2 teams last night. I'm not as deep as you guys are on your rookies, but I found it really hard, especially in the 4th. I was just having real dart shots. But for me, after Michael Carter, maybe Kadarius Toney for his ceiling and Fryermuth maybe. But yeah, it's a real drop off. Gets ugly pretty early.
That's interesting, actually, just looking at the tight ends, because you don't have Trey McKitty in there, who went before Brevin Jordan. Tremble, I'm not sure where Tremble was drafted.
Tommy Tremble went
3rd round.
I think he was 3rd round.
Yeah.
Yeah, McKitty was 3rd round as well.
Yeah.
And
Where did he go to?
Chargers, when you think about the situation in LA, I mean, we've got Jared Cook, who I don't know, maybe he's got 1 year in the league, and that's pretty much it. And I reckon the guys that are behind him are really Jags,
I did have a look at him. He was on my short list, but you haven't really seen his profile that much,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm noticing some interesting things, and it kind of is mirrored in what you've got here too. Is Trey Sermon coming up the board? That seems to be happening for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You see him go end of the 1st, early second if you're lucky. It's interesting that you've got that Williams went before ETN. I mean, I'm not as down on the ETN landing spot as some people seem to be.
No, look, I'm not down on the landing spot for ATN. And I'm probably repeating myself here. Like when Myers talked about James Robinson and ATN, to me it feels like he sees ATN in that Kamara mold. It's the kind of guy who's going to have 700 to 800 yards rushing, 700 to 800 yards catching the ball. Now I don't think ATN's that level of receiver that Kamara is, but I think that's what Meyer is envisioning. with James Robinson being the Mark Ingram type. So I'm not ready to write off James Robinson, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt that Robinson's stock is like plummeted. Absolutely. But, Williams, because Etienne is a much, much better player than Javonte Williams. Again, that's debatable. I know that's debatable.
I think they're pretty close.
They are pretty close, but I'd rank them the other way around.
I've got Etienne ahead of Williams. I've got him on par with Harris. Coin flip for me, but I guess Harris is walked into the touches, hasn't he? He's got the volume.
Yes, absolutely. But that's the tier break. You've got Harris, Etienne, and Williams, one way or another way, and that's the tier break. And then Sermon and Carter, and then forget it. Like I can see Chuba Hubbard there. Like, man, I know that you were only doing offense, so it's like it's hard because it does fall off the cliff. So you're a bit like, well, who should I take? But Hubbard, Gainwell. I wouldn't touch him. Herbert, I wouldn't touch. Roundtree, I've got some interest in. But a lot of those guys, I feel like the receivers are a lot deeper. Like there's some nice receivers I'd almost prefer to take over those guys.
So, but before we leave the running backs, so 3 running backs: Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne. Where would you rank those 3 with the 2020 guys?
Ooh, man. I think I'd almost look. JT is above all of them, obviously. It's hard to say, not having seen Harris in the black and yellow just yet. But then I'd probably go Harris. He might sneak in there, but then it's probably Swift. Like I think the other 2 guys, there's probably a bit of distance, actually. A lot of the 2020 guys would be in the middle for me.
I mean, except for CEH, right? All 3 of these running backs got the same or equal draft capital than the other guys, right?
They did, actually.
Because Harris was a first-round pick. ATM was a first-round pick, and Javonte Williams went 35 overall, I think. Right?
Yep.
And I think that was the same as Swift, but it was more than Taylor, more than Akers, more than Dobbins.
Yeah, and I'd take all those guys over Etienne or Williams. Even Dobbins, and I know some people are maybe a bit down on Dobbins just because of the Edwards thing and the whole Ravens thing. But
I love Dobbins. Yeah,
the talent. I think the talent will show through. You just got to have a bit of patience.
For mine, I think the only one I could probably take is Harris. I'd probably want all the 2020 running backs just because we haven't seen these guys. But ask us again in 6 months. What you say, AJ, it's hard to sort of rank them without seeing them. But, we know the landing spots. We know how they're being used, and we've got a bit of data on them. So I guess it's that unknown.
I think on talent, Dobbins might be my favourite.
Yeah, absolutely. He's close to mine. Oh, he certainly was. Pre-draft, he certainly was. But JT obviously is. I was pretty high on. It was sort of JT and Dobbins for me, pretty close. I think JT is. Oh well, clearly, obviously, he's jumped in front, but he might be my favourite at the moment. But yeah, I'm pretty high on Dobbins though.
You've got the 106 in console wars, right? And I got a feeling you'd love to get a quarterback. But if Lawrence, Fields, Lance, and Wilson were all gone by the time it was your pick, would you go Mac Jones at 106?
I'd smash Mac Jones. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, because a lot of people are down on Mac Jones. Man, it's the perfect spot for Mac Jones. It is the perfect spot. And I know he doesn't – why are people so negative about Mac Jones? I think it's because he's like a traditional quarterback. He's not a runner, which is maybe not as sexy from a fantasy perspective. But, hey, look at Tom Brady. I'm not that I'm comparing him to Tom Brady, but he's the perfect fit for New England. Absolutely perfect fit. And look at the weapons that are in New England. And a lot of people also had him as the most pro-ready of the 5, even. I think he's going to hit the ground running. He's going to put Cam to shame. Probably Cam will be there for a few games at least. But I'm high on Mac Jones.
Elite weapons like N'Keal Harry?
No. Nelson Aguilar, who I still play.
Brady had none. Brady had no one, right? It was all Brady. No one else helped him at all. Randy Moss.
But even if it's even if it's just Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, man, he can dink and dunk you to death.
Yeah.
But if you're on the clock at 106, are you really going to take Mac Jones over a Jamar Chase or a Kyle Pitts or a Najee Harris?
Yes. Well, no, Najee Harris won't be there. If Najee Harris is there at 106, yes, I'll take Najee Harris. He won't be there. I don't think he'll be there.
I think there's a very good chance Zach Wilson's there, like he was in this mock.
Yep.
How do you feel about Zach Wilson?
I don't like him. I'm giving away all my feelings about the quarterback.
That's why we moved the Console Wars draft back, mate, just so we can get the information what you're going to pick.
I love Lawrence, Fields, and Lance. They're all fantastic, and I don't like Zach Wilson. But maybe it's also a bit of Jets bias. I don't know. But I really like Mac Jones. So I'm high on 4 out of the 5. If Zach Wilson was there, if he was the only one that was there for me, I'd be looking to trade out of the pick.
So you're taking Jones in front of Wilson?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Nice.
I like Trey Lance. I have him as my QB2.
Yeah,
and
he's great.
And I think the logic, it's pretty simple for me. Look how Kyle Shanahan made Jimmy Garoppolo and Nick Mullins look.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really where it starts and ends for me. Look what he did with those two. And now he's got somebody with the talent of Trey Lance.
Oh, it's Lawrence. Obviously, Lawrence is 1, but Lance is 2.
Yeah.
And Fields is
3.
1A,
1B, I reckon. It's like it's.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's really brought them closer together, hasn't it? From my opinion, anyway, it's 1A, 1B.
Absolutely. I think I was reading on Twitter that in Sigmund Bloom's 100, he's got Lawrence. He's got Lance above Lawrence.
Has he
in his rankings?
Interesting.
Yeah, so very interesting. Yep. I got my first share the other day in a very interesting league that both Matt and I are in. It's called Fog of War, and it's run by John Bosch. And the whole startup and each of the rookie draft it's auction, but it's not a normal auction. It's a blind bid waivers.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Every player you win via blind bid.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That'd be intense.
I grabbed Lawrence in a massive overpay in that league, but I still got him cheaper than I got Burrow, so I was pretty happy with that.
Okay,
that's asterisk Matt's maths. It might not actually be correct, but I was sort of asleep at the wheel. It's a Voxer chat, and I had that muted, and I panicked and missed the Lance because I probably would have rather bid a bit more for Lance, but Benny was right on the money and got him. I think he got the cheapest Lance too. And
cheapest copy. It was all my rookie dollars, but it was the cheapest copy.
I got the dearest Lawrence because all the other quarterbacks were going on the same day. There was no one else. If I missed it, and I sold some of my startup dollars to get the rookie dollars, so I didn't want to miss the quarterback. So I thought, you know what, I'll just overpay and get him, and it is what it is.
It's nice if you have a share of Lawrence, at least one share of the phenomenon. But he's so hyped up at this point. And that's the thing about sort of someone ranking Lance over Lawrence is that we've been talking about Trevor Lawrence for like 2 years ago, or like even at least a year. We've been talking about him for at least a year. So it's gotten to a point where I think the hype, it'd be very hard, even if you truly believe that it was someone else, it'd be very hard to kind of convince yourself that he wasn't the one.
Well, he's already going like QB7 or QB8 in startups.
Oh, gee.
Wow. I took him myself at 1.10 in a startup that I'm doing with the Dynasty Underdog Boys.
Okay.
Right, and I think that was QB7 off the board. I don't know off the top of my head.
Ooh, wow. Wow.
But I actually have him ranked higher than that
Yeah.
in my personal rankings of quarterbacks. So
Look,
I think I have him quarterback 4 or 5 for Dynasty.
It's, I can see it because when you write down, like, man, quarterback does kind of drop off pretty quick. Like if you write down the top 12 quarterbacks, when you're looking at the QB 13, 14, suddenly you start looking at them sort of sideways. Ooh, it's starting to get a little bit average here. It's surprising.
I was at the turn for that draft, and I took Lance at 112. But yeah, it's 100% right. They do drop off pretty early after Dak. That's you're getting into you're getting these Hurts or Rodgers or Wilson, these older guys. So yeah, it's a definite drop off.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to, again, it varies from, I haven't done that many drafts, but certainly the drafts I've been doing. Devonta Smith, so he's at the 108 in the mock you did here, and I've seen him fall, but equally I've seen him go about there too. So it sort of depends. If you get someone who's a believer, but he's a bit polarizing, I would say.
Who's the steal in this draft, do you reckon, guys?
Look, the steal.
Okay, hang on.
Well, I mean, at what point is something a steal? If for somebody to really be a steal, you probably have to be higher on them than what the community is for you. I mean, maybe ATN. First round running back at 1.10.
That's pretty good. That is definitely pretty good.
Yeah,
I tell you who I really like, but the position is probably about right, but I really do like Amon-Ra St. Brown. So 2.7, that's probably about right though. And Amari Rodgers as well. He's gone sort of the next wide receiver there at 2.9. But that's about where you see him go. But I like those picks especially.
I think Jalen Waddle at 2.3. I mean, this guy was the 6th overall NFL pick, and here he's gone behind Rondale Moore and Elijah Moore, which I don't understand at all.
Actually, and Devonta Smith. But yeah, no, you're right. Actually, yeah, I don't know why he's gone. That person, that was Sheps at that draft slot would have smashed that because Waddle at that point. Yeah, you're right. I would have expected him to go anywhere from the 108.
I've seen him 107, 108 a couple other drafts. So
yeah,
you're right. Yep.
I think that's nuts at 2.3 and over a guy like Rondale Moore, who I think was like the 49th overall pick.
Right.
I mean,
and there's a lot of questions about. Look, I do like the Rondale. I do like the Moore landing spot. I mean, Arizona's good, but you do have it's pretty crowded. And he's not a big guy, but I mean not that matters because he's going to be playing the role that won't, that's not going to really be a big factor for him. But over Waddle, no, I wouldn't have done that. No.
I was on mute. Oh, you go, Matt.
No, I was going to say I like Bateman at 2.4. Again, that's probably about bang on, but maybe the landing spot he's drifted a little bit, but I don't hate that landing spot. I don't mind it, and just on talent alone, I think that's a pretty good value pick.
I would have taken Bateman before Sermon, before Rondale Moore, before Elijah Moore. That's a first-round wide receiver.
Yeah, and you're seeing him fall because of the landing spot. It's a bit like AJ Brown, and I had tons of. Well, at one point I had tons of AJ Brown because people were just like, "Oh, Titans, Marcus Mariota, man, it's a terrible landing spot." So you got to kind of sometimes back the talent,
Yep, that happened with DK as well.
Yep.
They were going in the back end of startups after the NFL draft because people thought, well, that's not places that throw the ball, and now they're two of the top 5 dynasty wide receivers.
Gigs.
I think Lamar Jackson is going to make us look a bit silly come this season. I think
I agree.
He's going to throw it a lot more, and
it's like Diggs to Buffalo, right? Everyone was saying they're not going to throw it enough, and they started throwing 8,000 times. So yeah,
I know this is sort of slightly off topic, but this offseason I've picked up quite a few shares of Lamar. I think his value is like the lowest it will ever be. Just because of last season, yeah. But like I said, week 1, forget it. I mean, if the season starts, you've missed your window. I think you've got a window to get him, to get a top, one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. His price is actually relatively cheap.
I agree wholeheartedly there. I think one of the things with Lamar is people are worried about running quarterbacks and how long they'll last because Cam Newton dropped off a cliff at 30. Well,
True.
Even if Lamar dropped off a cliff at 30, he's 24.
Yeah.
He's got that's 6-7 years away. Who cares? Right?
Just on that, while we're talking, these guys that bust out, is there do you guys have a philosophy? Say, if you're a Herbert owner now, are you looking to cash in? Because if you're a Lamar owner at his peak last year, before his off year, you probably would have sold him for a fortune. So where do you guys sit on that? Are you happy to hold him and have that quarterback for 10, 15 years, or will you try and cash out and reinvest take the profit and go somewhere else, or depends on your league?
Yeah, it sort of depends. I'm sorry, that's not an easy answer. And also with quarterback, I think it's like, if you've got Mahomes, then don't trade Mahomes. Like he's your cornerstone of your league for the next of your team for the next 10 years. I don't really see yes, you could cash high, I know, but he's very hard to replace. Like, man.
But he's almost untradeable because he's so expensive.
Yeah, I know, that's true.
Right?
No one's prepared to pay that sort of money.
No one's prepared to pay that sort of price for it.
No. Not the price that you'd want, Not the fair price. They're not prepared to pay that, no. So, I kind of feel like sometimes it's okay to I know there's a lot of people who sort of advocate, he's at his peak value, you should sell. Sometimes I think it's actually fine just to ride the wave.
Depends who you reinvest in too, right? You might reinvest in Harry, Kill Harry or a Jerry Judy or someone, and you wish you had a bird in their hands worth two in the bush, right? Sort of.
And with Herbert, the one reservation I have is I know Anthony Lynn wasn't a great coach, right? But Justin Herbert still had one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time, and now that whole coaching staff has moved on.
True.
And he spoke. Pep Hamilton was on that staff, and he spoke very, very highly of Pep Hamilton, who is now gone.
Yeah,
I think Herbert will be fine, but it's something just to note and to think about.
Oh, 100%. I mean, RG3 he was set records. When he was a rookie, and he's at Dunkin' Donuts now. I think he's still in the league somewhere. Maybe holding the clipboard for the backup quarterback. I don't even think he's a backup. He might be a third string quarterback somewhere.
He was the Ravens backup. I don't know if they still re-signed him or not.
I think he played last year, right? When McSorley,
I think he did.
Trace McSorley got hurt and he came on and threw a couple of balls. And
I think so. So, look, that can happen. That's pretty extreme. But, to answer your question, that's not an easy. I'm more likely to trade a top running back or a top wide receiver, probably more so, because they're more easily replaceable.
If someone's higher on Herbert than I am, and I can move in what I consider the same tier and get a small piece, then I would move Herbert. Yeah. But other than that, I'm probably not going to do it.
And it's probably quarterback too, right, for you, Betty?
Yeah. Unless I was in a situation where I was stacked and had 4 or 5 quarterbacks and I could just trade him outright for another stud. Yeah. I'm probably just moving within the same tier and trying to add a little piece for someone who might have him in that tier 1 or higher tier than I have, or just really wants Herbert.
Yeah, there's a bit of a general rule that, again, some people sort of use, which is if you're in Superflex and you're trading a quarterback, you should get a quarterback back. So you're moving Herbert. So in the deal, maybe you get a Danny Dimes back or something, or a Tom Brady, or I don't know who, just a lower tier quarterback, but at least you've got a quarterback back. That's not a bad rule, really, because sometimes you can trade yourself into trouble. you had Herbert, but now you've got down to one quarterback, or and you.
It's turned on its time. Like you could have a nice set of quarterbacks and feel really comfortable, and think, all right, you're going to be good for a long time. But then all of a sudden, Jameis Winston's the backup in New Orleans, or Carson Wentz is going to the bench, or Jared Goff. Like I not this season, but last season, I got a heap of Goff as my QB too, because I thought that contract extension, he's safe for a long time. He's going to be there on the Rams in McVay. How bad can it be? So I bought up. Anyway, it got worse. Like Mariota and Winston were two guys that I invested in heavily after their rookie seasons when I did startups, and now it's just question marks. So, I think you always want to be getting bodies at quarterback, high upside backups, just always trying to just gain that marginal little bit of value. Jordan Love, you couldn't buy him. Like he might be starting now, and a couple of weeks ago you could have got him for next to nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always not bad to kind of take some, swings at the fences, get some of those backup guys or fringe guys. I had a lot of Goff as well, I'm afraid. I've got out of all my shares, but, in the end I was selling quite cheap. But, he looks like he's going to be playing the starter this year. I thought the Lions might make a move and make him irrelevant, but, he's the starter for at least a year.
Yeah, Carolina, Detroit, and Denver all passing on Fields blew my mind.
Oh, the Denver one especially, that was crazy. They had Fields in their lap, just dropped to them. They didn't have to pay anything. He just dropped to them. And who did they pick? They picked Surtain. They picked a corner, didn't they? They went cornerback. A cornerback over a quarterback. That's madness.
Maybe they thought they were going to get Aaron Rodgers. That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe they still think they're going to get Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, maybe.
Pretty sad if you could have had Fields and you end up with Darnold. Not that I hate Darnold, but it's a big drop off, isn't it?
But if you're Carolina, right, you were prepared before the Watson news to trade the house for Watson. You traded a future second for Sam Darnold. Now, I like Darnold in that offense with Matt Rule and those weapons. And I think that he's got a real opportunity to prove himself. But I still would have taken Fields with that 8th overall pick, because I think then you've got Fields and you've got Darnold. And between both of them, I think you've probably got like an 80% chance of getting a franchise quarterback.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then you don't need to worry about that position anymore.
No, precisely.
Chicago fans are loving it, aren't they? They're living it up.
There's just Chicago. How do you feel about Allen Robinson with Justin Fields?
Oh, I love it. But I'm a big admittedly, I'm a big A-Rob fan, and I've been gathering shares of A-Rob any chance I get, because I just love the guy. But brilliant.
The A-Rob share you got in Console Wars was off me.
Oh, was it? I couldn't remember.
It was off me, all right?
Yeah.
And you made me an offer of T. Higgins and a second. A 2022 second for A-Rob. And at the time, I thought, surely the Bengals are going to take Penei Sewell, right? And I loved Higgins.
Yes.
T. Higgins. I thought it was going to be wheels up for him. And, prorated over 16 games, Joe Burrow still would have thrown for about 4,300 yards last year. So I still think the potential is there for Higgins to be a really good fantasy wide receiver. And I thought that'd at least be about the same, and I was getting some years back just by paying the second. But I think you've well and truly got one over me in that one.
Yeah, that's pretty close though, I think, because I'm still a big fan of Higgins. But I did kind of I rolled the dice, because I thought, I bet that they're going to go after Chase Young. I bet they're going to. Lamar Chase and Chase Young. Wrong draft. Lamar Chase.
Wrong position.
Yeah. I've got Chase Young on the brain. But
apart from that, you're close.
Yeah.
I can play tight end.
I mean, actually, the Chase pick is actually a bad pick, really, for the Bengals.
Luxury pick.
It was a luxury
It's sort of
pick.
well, they should. I mean, Sewell. I mean, that was the pick they needed to make. That was the brain pick, but the heart pick was Chase. I still,
They would have been
still
fine
like
with Boyd,
Higgins.
right? Boyd and Higgins, they would have been fine.
Boyd, I think they would have been fine with Boyd and Higgins.
Yeah.
Even Auden Tate flashed at times last year.
Yeah, he did. So I actually think that it doesn't hurt Higgins as much as definitely hurts Boyd a lot, you know.
And look, it's not related at all, but when was the last time the wide receiver with single-digit draft capital worked out? I'm just trying to, round one, before pick 10, like Corey Davis, not yet, though. I'm still high on Corey. Love you, Corey. But it just hasn't happened yet. Mike Williams, you'd say no, not yet. John Ross, definitely not. Sammy Watkins, no.
Ruggs, where did Ruggs go? Was he
Ruggs was
early?
11.
He was the first
11.
one, wasn't he?
But he shouldn't have been the first one. I think that's
No.
they just haven't spit on the brain.
Raiders again.
Yeah.
So look, I think Chase will break the trend, but I didn't view him as like an elite wide receiver prospect in the mold of like a Julio Jones or a Calvin Johnson.
Oh, hell no. No. I think as you said, I'm pretty happy with that trade. Like I'm obviously a big A-Rob fan. Fields going there is an absolute bonus. I wasn't even, that was with Dalton there. I was just going to lump it because Dalton even then would still be like the best quarterback that Robinson's had. But now he gets Fields, which is fantastic. And I was trying to get another trade in because I did get an offer. Someone was shopping A-Rob for about the 111, sort of like a late first for A-Rob, which is insane value. So I was actually trying to sell A-Rob so I could get A-Rob back.
I like that.
At a discount. But you know what? I couldn't get it done because no one wants to buy A-Rob.
It's the age again, I think.
Well,
Yeah, it's
28 is the new 30 for Dynasty wide receivers.
clearly.
It's 28. That's where the value really kind of drops off because they think 30 is coming. So it's very, very strange because you could still get 5 years of mega production. So
absolutely. And A-Rob
very
is
confusing.
Wow.
If you want to go win now, it's a big window to go win now, isn't it? If you want to take some of these older guys.
Oh, yeah. I think, that's probably the big fault of Dynasty players is they can be very ageist. And, I think sometimes people think in 10-year windows, which is crazy. Like, honestly, I don't want to say anything like we won't be alive in 10 years, possibly, touch wood. But like the average Dynasty league, I think runs for maybe 3 or 4 years. I'm not putting the mods on console wars. I think it'll be around for longer than that. But like if you're saying, I'm going to have this guy for 10 years, it's sort of like, wow, you're projecting kind of pretty far in the future. Honestly.
We're already at year 3, mate. We're going strong.
Awesome.
Going strong. We'll be around for a while.
Awesome.
I
know, but a lot can happen in 10 years,
Yeah.
You're going to have a guy for 10
agree.
years in your,
Three-year windows, right? 3-4 year windows.
It's fine. Yeah.
Plenty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we did a trade as well. AJ, we did a in Aussie Guys 5. We did a Deshaun Watson for a late,
we did.
Late, I think it was a 111, 112, 2022.
It was a 22.
It was my
22
first. It's going to be a late first because of my first.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For those watching and listening, a trade in Aussie Guys 5 is just it's a rare occurrence.
Yeah.
It's a rarity.
I don't know what it is about that league, but there's not a lot of trading. And I was certainly sharing a team with G, and I've jumped into this orphan. And I must say, there's nothing against G, but like sharing a team is very difficult in terms of trading because it's very hard. Like, yes, we agree on some things, we don't agree on other things in terms of value. But I think I'm a lot more loose with my trade offers. I'm prepared to take chances, where I think G is a lot more cautious. So it's very hard to come to an agreement.
Yeah. I think the only way it works is if you kind of you just got to let each other. You got to let. Okay, I got to let you have this one. You got to let me have that one. And,
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
know.
Look, I'm not so much hung up on winning trades, and I know there's certainly some owners like that who just they have to win every trade. You know, it has to be in their favour.
Hatton.
Please.
But you know, it's for me, it's partly value, but it's partly team, and it's also sometimes just guys I like, really. At the
I
end
think
of
that's
the
the
day,
beauty of an orphan. If you take over an orphan that you don't like, I think it's great because you really can just have free reign to get your guys right.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, yep. It's
Yeah.
fun part of the league, right? Like it's good to win and go win now and everything, but doing a rebuild's great fun too.
Oh, it can be. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the first pieces I dealt was Chase Claypool. And I think when I took over that orphan, I think straight away in my inbox, I think I had like 4 or 5 offers for Chase Claypool, like right off the bat. So I kind of knew that, because I don't really like him, so I kind of knew that, here's a chance to kind of cash in immediately on a player. I can't remember what I dealt him for. I think I got Marquise Brown and someone better. Marquise Brown was kind of a bit of an add-in. I turned him into 2 receivers, basically. I can't remember who it was.
Everyone thought Juju was going away, right? So they were trying to buy him, and sometimes you don't know.
And you know that whole situation. I mean, Roethlisberger's probably got a year, and then you know what do the Steelers look like? Honestly, so it's pretty uncertain. And yeah, you're right. That it's just there's too much uncertainty for me, and I just don't. Claypool has looked great, I must admit, but like he wasn't really high on my rankings when out of 2020. So I'm kind of trying to stay true to my initial opinions of guys as well, and I just wasn't that high on him. So well, I'll wear it if he ends up being really good. Well, bad luck, that's fine.
Well, that's just part of it. You got to get your guys, don't you?
Oh yeah, you do. Ben's muted. Okay.
I've got. Sorry, guys, I was muted. I got the transactions up, mate. You've been super active. one trade here. All right, Sam Darnold, 2021 4th pick, 4.07.
Yeah.
Year 22, round 3.
Yeah.
And you traded him for Deebo Samuel. And 2.15.
Okay. I like Deebo.
One.
Yeah, I like Deebo a lot.
With Lance throwing the ball now too.
Yeah, and I got Darnold cheap, and someone just put something up on the message board and said I'll sell Darnold for a late first, and I just like smashed that. I was like, yes, I'll do that because it's a quarterback, and I do like Darnold, but then obviously I traded him. I was fine to trade him away.
You like Deebo more than Darnold then?
Yeah, I do like Deebo. If you can stay healthy, I think he's like an amazing player. Like he's so versatile. And in that offense, we talked about Shanahan offense already, but as long as he can stay healthy in that offense, he could be amazing. We'll see him all over the field. So we've seen glimpses, but if we see a full healthy season from him, I think he's going to be really, really good.
So looking at your Claypool trade, I really like it. You got Marquise Brown and Laviska Shenault.
Oh yeah, Shenault, that's right. Yeah, who I like. Yeah,
like Shenault a lot.
Another one, just the health, right? If he stays healthy.
Yeah, true. So I know the value on that. You might look at that and say, "Ooh, 2 lesser players," but the Marquise Brown thing. I dealt him. I put him in a package and got something else for him. So, but I've still got Shenault, who I really like.
Can't see what you did with Marquise Brown.
I can't remember.
I'll see if I can find it.
Scroll down.
But
Was a
in
long
the
time
back
ago.
of my mind, well, there's another thing that I think is a bit something that people, not to sort of say, the world according to AJ, but another thing which I think people are reticent to do when they trade is, like, I was happy to that was a deal that whoever that was, I was targeting Chenault. That was who I wanted, but I knew Claypool had more value than Chenault. So I just wanted another piece, but I was thinking, give me a piece that I can trade, a piece that's got value. So I was like, yeah, Marquise Brown. I mean, he's okay. That's fine. But I didn't necessarily trade for him to keep him, but I wanted to keep Chenault.
You traded Marquise Brown for Latavius Murray, Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Samuel's got a chance to really break out in that Washington offense.
I agree.
Marquise Brown and pick 2.15.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think that's
For
2 point for Samuel and Latavius Murray.
Yep. And again, see, like in that deal, like Samuel's the target and Latavius is like the little bit of, throw in. And I moved Latavius. I can't remember. I think I immediately got onto all the Kamara owners and was like shopping Latavius. So.
I mean, it doesn't seem like Marquise is probably a great best ball play, but he's not a fun guy to put in your lineup each week. Yeah. I mean, he's more real live NFL threat than fantasy juggernaut. But I mean, LaVisca attached to Trevor Lawrence now, right? I mean, he might have more value than Claypool in 12 months.
He may.
Very, very easily. And Claypool, who's going to be the quarterback in Pittsburgh?
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, so I mean, especially if the Steelers have a good year, and they could with that offense, they could. Then how they're going to get a quarterback? It might be a free agent quarterback. Don't think they're going to be picking a rookie quarterback.
No.
I mean, it looks like you're going to have at least one stud from Jacksonville because you got DJ Chark as well.
Yeah, who I also really like, and his value is down this offseason for some reason. Maybe that was pre-draft. Maybe now post-draft it's a bit harder to get Shark. But pre-draft, his value wasn't that high.
But everyone knew Lawrence was coming, so I don't know why it would be different.
Yeah, no, I don't know either. But I think the hype will build now. So Visca I've got Visca in a few leagues. I get offers for Visca fairly frequently. So people are trying to get him. As you said, let's just hope he stays healthy, but he could be really, really good.
Yeah. So, boys, look, we've gone almost for 75 minutes here. Was there anything that you gents wanted to touch on before we jump off? Fantasy-wise, NFL-wise, any random thoughts?
Not really. I think this Aaron Rodgers thing is, man, if Rodgers flips to, well, probably is a great thing to bring up at the 75-minute mark. But if Rodgers flips to a team like Denver, man, the fantasy well, not to mention the NFL implications, but the fantasy implications far out.
I mean, that's massive. Judy, Sutton, all wheels up.
Fant. And then Adams, he would suffer. But like I've been picking up a lot of Amari Rodgers. You could probably say goodbye to his draft stock. Aaron Jones would probably be fine, I suppose. But I mean, I'm not a big fan of Jordan Love. I don't think he's very good at all.
I just can't wait for him to draft a bunch of wide receivers after he leaves. You just see that happening, can't you? Just trading up to get wide receivers left, right, and centre.
Well, I actually said, wouldn't it be ironic if in the Aaron Rodgers trade to Denver, they got Jordan Love, Cortland Sutton, or Jerry Jeudy?
Oh my goodness. And I just think even I know they got Amari Rodgers, but like even the first round pick, they picked a corner. Was that
Eric Stokes?
Was it? But anyway, I sort of thought, man, are you trolling him? Are you seriously trolling him? I mean, like you're picking, that there's grievances and it's sort of not going so well, and you pick a cornerback. But at the same time, Aaron he's very passive aggressive. Like he doesn't seem to really say what he wants. He's just like sort of
Yeah,
moaning
Eric
all the time, and he seems to have, when you kind of like, when you see things come out from, Schefter, it's because the agent is sort of, like A-Rod's like widged to the agent, and the agent's leaked it to Schefter, and Schefter's put it out there. So it's all this passive-aggressive rubbish, I feel. Like, I don't know that A-Rod's necessarily the easiest guy to work with either.
No, but imagine him in that Denver offense if they didn't have to give up Sutton, Fan, or Judy to get him. Oh my God,
that might be Super Bowl favourites instantly.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome for my Jerry Judy shares.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. After trading any share I had of Jerry Judy, I might be pretty cut. So,
who do you think would be the one there with Rodgers, Judy or Sutton?
Ooh, it's a tough call. I love Sutton. Yeah, you're right. I think it probably is Judy. I mean, we have to give the guy a chance to rise, but at the moment, it's probably Sutton.
I love Sutton coming out, but I actually think if they got a quarterback like Rodgers, that really lends itself to somebody like Judy, who's just super route runner. You know, he's got some parallels there with Devontae Adams. I think Sutton would still be good, but I think Judy would be the one. I mean, Sutton's out there in consoles, boys. If you want him, he was out there put out in the chat today. I mean, Lloydie's traded him, willing to do it straight up for a 22 first.
Wow.
So, and I think Scotty had him out there trying to get a 21 first.
That's a pretty fair price, I think, too.
Got to pay those dues, though, right? That's the other thing.
That's true.
That commission's a bit of a ball buster over there.
That commissioner, he's just a tight ass, man.
He is, man. Just on that, the commissioner had an idea of donating. We had some extra funds because we were a multi-copy league. We've gone down to one league, and that's we're donating that to a gent who's had a bit of a bad time. So I think that's a good thing you've done there, Ben. That's really good that everyone sort of in the whole league's got behind it too. And I think we're going to do that, or you're going to do that every year going forward, right?
Going forward. Still got to get that money in. I haven't done it yet, but just passed. But I'll be doing that in the next day or two, getting that money transferred over to that charity. I think it was a GoFundMe or something. I can't remember.
It was a GoFundMe, yeah.
Yeah. That was actually Lewis Glover, FF Down Under's, idea to do that as a one-off, and then I said, let's just do this ongoing.
Yep. So, that's great. Yeah. And I think that's a pretty cool thing these days. I think most of my leagues that I play in are money leagues. I never used to, but not necessarily very big bucks, but I think it does sort of help a little bit with the engagement and stuff. And if you could build something like that in, I think that's a great thing, really. You can do a bit of good. Yeah.
I think the fantasy football community overall, especially on Twitter, have done a great job of that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Did you have anything you wanted to plug, AJ?
No, not really.
No?
I mean, certainly tune into our. We're pretty sporadic in the off season, but I will be fairly shortly. Last year was a wash. I mean, it was a wash on so many levels. But we usually have like a series where we do team previews for. Well, we try to do 32, all 32. We're going to get Matt Waldman back on to do a bit of a post-draft kind of chat. But yeah, we'll start getting into our team sort of discussions, which will be fun. And last year, our first one that we had on were the Finns, the guys from on the Finn side, and I think they actually said they thought they were going to go 10-6, and we nearly laughed them off the screen. They're going to be cock a hoop, I think, this time.
They will be, mate.
They were pretty close to right. Well, they might have been. Well, what were the Finns last year? They might have been close to that.
I think that's what that. Isn't that exactly what they were?
They might have been 10-6.
I've got a feeling, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just 9-6.
9-5.
Yeah. Look, that's not a real 10-6.
Isn't it?
Sorry. Look, it might be this year, but it wasn't last year. It wasn't real.
Well, they won't be 10-6 this year. We know that. They might be 11-6. Might be 10-7.
Nice.
NFL messing with us on many levels.
On many levels. So you can see AJ's personal handle at Aussie Guys NFL-AJ.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find the Aussie Guys at Aussie Guys NFL.
Yep.
The Australian NFL superstars of podcasting and YouTube.
Oh, you're very kind. You're very kind.
Right.
Well, we have to do it a bit more regularly. Last year was hard. And being a teacher, because we were all remote, well, from especially, all of us being in Melbourne, it was hard. And I was pretty busy. And G wasn't working for a good amount of time. So, yeah, it was a bad year, really, wasn't it?
Just a bad year all around. I know. I set myself up in a nice little home office, and then I thought, it'd be good to do my football stuff as well. And then when I was working, I didn't want to be in there, mate.
No. That's right. That's right.
So, I thought, I'm going to have all this time to get into the NFL while working at home and all that stuff, and just dive in even deeper. And I just found that when I wasn't working, less than ever, I wanted to be looking at screens.
Oh yeah,
yep.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
And my podcast listening overall really dropped off actually because I wasn't commuting to work. Yep. All my meetings were dial-up meetings over the phone with people. Yep. So it didn't really play out like I thought it would.
No. It seems like a pretty good gig when you're sort of fantasizing about it, but then in the reality, you're right. Like I'm literally like you, Ben. I'm sitting where I was for all of the remote teaching period, and when I clocked off, this was the last place I wanted to be.
Yep, and exactly the same.
Yeah,
exactly the same.
Mm.
Anyway, look, we smashed out 80 minutes. Matt, was there anything you wanted to say, mate, before you go?
No, mate, just enjoying the drafts. I think you're on the clock, Penny. So would you just hurry up and pick, mate, when you?
He's timed out.
I'm just winding you up.
Come and get it, mate. The pick's on the block. Come and get it. Best offer. All right. I'm not getting off the clock until I get a massive overpay. Come give it to me.
There's always one.
Always at its highest when you're on the clock. It's just the people who wait on the clock. That's irritating. Like, send me an offer for hours.
Please, never. All lies.
I wasn't looking at anyone.
All right. So, just for all the listeners, please let us know. You can find me at Live from the Ben. You can find Matt at FF Doormat. The rest of the Toilets to Tiles crew is at Coach Sheps, at Justin FF, at Nate _Dirt19, at Dirty Jobs 21, at R Gonzalez RM, and of course at Toilets to Titles. And you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Periscope, and Spotify. Today's episode was brought to you by Prime Sports Talk. It's your top source for all major sports content, including DFS, fantasy advice, and great gambling tips. And be sure to head to primetimesportstalk.com to check out their in-depth analysis, exclusive articles, fascinating interviews, and explore the rest of their amazing podcast family. Again, primetimesportstalk.com, you go to for sports content. And thank you, Mother, for the rabbits.
Thanks, everyone.
Ciao,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
See you,
Thanks,
boys.
guys. It was fun. It's good fun.